to the flag to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Oh, this is the public comment period. Is there any public comment? Well, young lady, you gotta come and sign in if you haven't already. You're the public comment. We just make you more embarrassed.
Sorry.
We're fine. Sign in here. Please. That's okay. You're fine. Okay, next we have the approval of the January 8th, 2025 minutes. Is there any changes or amendments to the rules? To the minutes, not the word, the minutes. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Okay, it was Dan McCartan, and I saw Jeff over there with his little hand attempting to stick up. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Don't forget to sign in, Jessica. Okay, next correspondence, as per Chris, there is no correspondence. We did receive a letter from a attorney. That, which I'm also gonna include in my report regarding AMR Twin City and also Erie County and Catholic Health System, and I will leave that for the rest of my executive report, so therefore, we're gonna leave it in suspense. Okay, any other correspondence that we know of? Okay, no. Okay, treasurer's report, Madonna, please.
I submitted my report online. We have had since our last meeting, no expenditures. So the report is basically the same as the January report. I did include a check detail of our nonprofit account, which shows the support that we've been given from Twin City, AMR, the expenditures that we've had and so forth to date. And the balance is $3,064.21. I have not yet gotten a hold of AMR to ask if they are interested in donating again this year or supporting our annual awards dinner training meeting, but I will do that in the next couple of days.
So for the paramedic students in the audience, what it is that New York State allows us to pay for a building, a rental, if we have training for our awards dinner, but they don't allow us to pay for any food. Hence why, and we are mainly funded by state money at this particular point in time. The council is, so therefore that is why we're looking for additional donations. Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, if not, do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Okay, Bill Straker I saw first, and I saw Crystal. See, I got you, Crystal. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okey-dokey.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
I
Go
just
on.
wanted to add that some of the expenditures on here, of course, are made typically in the fourth quarter, such as the Western New York Stress Reduction Team, and some of the other expenses under other expenses. So there will be additional monies that will be expended.
Okay. Okay, Aunt Madonna, do you have anything else, or you want to wait until budget? Okay, we'll wait until budget. Okay. The medical advisory committee.
They did meet, and one of the things that was brought up was there was a proposal for being able to contact hospitals through a third party in order to make it easier for the crews to be able to reach the hospitals for whether it's medical direction or reports. It was pointed out that Erie County's had that in effect since 2019. It's oddly enough, it's called 898 MERS. So even those over 60 to remember. And what happens there is if you call 898 MERS, you call, you'll be answered by a MERS dispatcher who asks what hospital you want. You tell them what hospital you want, and then we route the call directly to the numbers that we have. For medical direction, or notification at the hospitals. Once it's picked up and it's acknowledged that the right hospital can contacted, then there's the MERS dispatch disconnects. And then the crew's on their own. But we maintain a recording of it. This started years ago when a hospital system, their recording system went down and they were guesstimated some $65,000 to get a recording system. So what we did was we made this available. So the REMAC is thinking it over. The information as far as the report that's given and the direction that's given will be available for the REMAC Quality Assurance Group. The agency that is involved or the hospital that's involved. I'm just working on an agreement for that to make it more formal. But it's up and running now. We take a couple calls a day. And again, one of the things we were concerned about is hospitals change their numbers. So the MERS dispatcher would keep a running record where the right numbers are, so you don't wind up calling some bank in Ohio.
Okay,
That was the highlight, I think. At least that's what I stated.
It was that their bylaws are still drafted and pending return. I imagine those will come to this body at some point for approval because they're a subcommittee. And if anybody, just want to make sure everybody's on the same message. In July, the REMAC had passed a revision to the IFT protocols after review. It was determined that they were not complete, and that they required some additional review and adjustment for the scope of practice documents in New York State. So we're back on the 2011 interfacility protocols for now. I know there are a lot of groups that are working on it, so if you want to work on interfacility transfer protocols, you can hold me or Greg, and we'll connect you with whatever your subject matter of interest is.
Thanks.
No, not everybody at once.
Yeah, we had them almost. That's it for the reason.
okay, any
I'm not
questions?
sure when the next meeting is.
This month.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Okay, any questions for Greg? Okay, New York State Council, Greg.
We had our meeting last week in the bustling town of Troy, New York. And it was fairly well attended. Some of the things that came up that I thought was rather interesting was there was a little, I wouldn't say presentation, but information that came from Nassau County where they're collecting hospital turnaround times off PCR data that's been submitted, made very pretty graphs, very colorful. The only concern I had was the fact that the data comes off the PCRs, and if you bring it to the hospital, we need a way to correlate with what happens at the hospital. They'll have a different perspective. They don't know when the ambulance gets there. This data is from when the ambulance arrives on location to the time the triage hits. The hospital knows when the triage hits and when they assign. So it's a start. It's some data that we're going to start producing at Erie County. Peterson doesn't know yet, but this will save me a phone call. And but hopefully we'll get together with the providers and stuff like that, just to make sure that they know that we're doing this. And just to get some awareness at the hospital, unless you bring some data back, nobody knows what you're doing. But I thought that was a pretty good thing. And coming out of Nassau County, being born down in Nassau County, I was kind of happy with it. Education funding is going on. They're very proud of this year that the fact that the budget that was brought together for training, they've expended most of it, which is the first time since I've been involved. And it just goes to show there are more classes out there. There's more innovative ways to give classes, which is great. So now that we're almost spending the amount, they're going to probably ask for more. So that's one of the things out there. One of the other things is the fact that it was brought out and clarified the fact that tuition for classes, as a sponsor, core sponsor, we can't add on any fees to EMTs and CFRs. However, if you're looking at the advanced classes, we can put additional fees in there, right? So that was clarified, which is good. So I'm pretty sure most people weren't very understanding of that. So that was clarified. There's other things that happened. They talked about the National Guard transitioning into EMS role. They talked about a lot of electronic PCR updates that were happening. One thing that scares me is the artificial intelligence. They're moving ahead with that. So that the days of misspellings on PCRs might be going away. I can't guarantee it, but that's a lot of good information that's gonna happen. So again, all of it up to Bob and Brian for other stuff that really happened. It was actually a fairly good meeting. The one concern, if I could, this is coming from Greg, not from Erie County, not from the SEMSCO, not from anything else, is there is a lot of undercurrent or concern by the physicians about the fact exactly where they sit in the hierarchy. And we've had those arguments years and years and years back to when Dr. Young was there. Nobody's saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, all right, nobody's saying that we direct the REMAC, but we still are a governing body that things have to filter through. It's just the way it is.
So on the record, there was a misstatement by the CMAC that they are an independent body. They are not.
No.
Article 30, they are specified as a committee
Right.
of the State Emergency Medical Services Council.
Right.
So that was a misstatement that led to some other motions. Basically, the physicians group, CMAC, that provides advisory work for SEMSCO and for the commissioner, was upset about a bylaws change made at the state EMS council that created term limits for the physicians. Not because any of them want to be there for all eternity, but because if you limit their terms to 8 years, there's a really small population of EMS qualified physicians to fill in. The vetting process to get those physicians into seats takes sometimes 3 to 5 years. So you basically have to start vetting your next candidate to seat your first one, which is kind of crazy. So I suspect it'll change. I don't know how you guys feel based on the conversation, but I suspect there's probably gonna be a change there.
I would agree.
Yeah, it was tense a little while.
Yeah, I think a couple other things I took away, there was multiple conversations about hospital bed delays. Greg talked about how Nassau County is handling that with their reporting, which is a good structure. Just remind all agencies, if you go to the Bureau of EMS webpage, and I'll look at exactly where it is, and it'll be on the record here. If you go to the Bureau of EMS webpage, you navigate to the EMS forms, and then select EMS provider feedback and surveys from the dropdown. The very top one is EMS provider reporting long wait times at hospitals. So you can go in there anytime that you are at a hospital for a prolonged period of time. There's some discussion about what a prolonged period of time is. There was some suggestion that it's 30 minutes. I don't know about all of you, but I haven't gotten out of the hospital in 30 minutes in quite a long time. So whatever that means to you, report it. It is not real time. So it's not like pinging our EMS reps in real time to say, we're at the hospital stuck, come get us out. But it's a report that's going to trigger it. Many of us are trying to encourage Bureau of EMS to use the information that's already available and submitted through the PCR, because a lot of this is just duplicate entry. And I know that there's a big challenge in getting people just a few PCRs and getting them to write another document can be difficult, but if you're motivated by standing in the hallway, this might be for you. Get back to the station, submit it online. You'll need the at hospital time, in bed time, clear time, and all of that.
I would say with that, if you are delayed at a hospital, follow your internal policies and procedures for your company. But feel free to call the county and we'll do what we can to check into things and look around. Can't guarantee anything.
There was a tremendous amount of discussion around both the governor's proposed executive budget and discussion around the elements of that. And the reimbursement available for EMS in the absence of funding. And there's been a lot of follow-up on that, especially around Medicaid funding. For those of you who don't know, this year was a really big investment by New York State in healthcare expense for hospitals, nursing homes, physicians' offices in the range of like $1.3 billion. And no money was invested in EMS reimbursement at all. There is some money for EMS in a subpart for counties to conduct a study of gaps in their county that could assist, but the money is earmarked specifically for the studies and not for EMS operations. So all of you have access to advocacy groups, whether that's fireside, EMS side, volunteer side. I would say reach out to your advocacy groups and get involved in this because it's an important issue, but not one we should probably take up here. Part R's on the agenda, we can talk about that later. Reminder that the performance criteria is still out there and being determined, so if anybody wants to weigh in on that, pay attention to the CMAC meeting or SEPSCO meetings, especially the systems subcommittee. The performance standards work is being done to get that drafted into regulation. The first round is mostly reporting. It's mostly benchmarking to understand where we're at as an industry and be able to move forward. There's also a lot of conversation about non-emergency calls, and anybody pays attention to the news out of the Auburn and Syracuse area. There's an agency out there that decided they're going to stop responding to what amount to non-medical calls. Help me from my car to my house, help me from my house to my car, help me get my cat in the litter box, whatever it is that they're getting called for. That hit the news a lot, and there was some discussion circulating around that. Whatever your agencies do, just being aware that that's out there and that's a challenge. There's going to be some EPCR changes for all of you who are doing that. Talk to your vendors. There is an issue with, I believe it's EPCR 13 or E13.
It's with the gender.
The gender field. It's an interesting conflict with the federal declaration that there are two genders, don't enter anything else, and the state declaration that there are, multiple genders and enter what's reported. Why does it matter to us? Because everything we do goes in both directions to state and federal, and especially those who are getting Medicare and Medicaid funding. What you report there could have a lot of implications. So make sure that you're talking to your vendors, make the appropriate decisions, and watch definitely for communication from data and informatics. I think that was the additional notes I had. Rob, did you have anything else?
No, and so I put out through the email kind of a brief overview of a lot that was discussed and touched on the highlights in a document. Additionally, I also put in a statement that I made to the SEMSCO on behalf of the program agency or agencies in reference to the fact that we still do not have a contract. So those documents were shared with everyone. So if you wanted to basically see some of the other highlights from the other committees, it will be in that document.
And you'll comment on your report, I hope so, but so everybody's aware, program agencies usually attend, like Rob does, obtains reports, brings it back to REMSCO and shares information. And there were a lot of program agencies that were not at SEMSCO because of the lack of funding and lack of contracts. I don't want to call it boycott, the travel wasn't paid for, so people didn't go.
Yeah.
So not everybody was as fortunate as we are.
The title's coming to an end too.
Okay,
The other thing to add to that would be the paramedic scholarships. They were still in.
Well, those are in the program agency contracts, right?
You're not gonna see them this year, this fiscal year.
There's still a chance if your contract is signed that we should.
Yeah, so let me just put it in realism for you. If I got my contract award letter tomorrow, I'm probably still not gonna be executed by the end of this fiscal year. I mean, I probably could spend the money, but my organization right now basically says I pretty much can't spend any unnecessary funds. And if I try to go to them and say I want to spend $20,000 in the hopes of getting it back, they're likely to say no this year until I have a contract executed. So you are correct. As long as I start working on it and spent that money, I could in fact do that, but I don't know how real that's gonna be for this fiscal year. And that'll just carry over to the next year.
That's also connected to the recruitment retention money as well.
Correct.
Do we want to start maybe looking into a process though now, just in case when they say pull the trigger, we know how to do it?
can we wait till old business, cause I gotta know under old business,
Sure.
okay. Okay, anything else for SEMSCO? Okay, any other questions for Mr. Gill, Rob, or Brian? Okey
Can I
dokey,
just touch on one other meeting that happened out there? It's not really the state, it's the New York State EMS Coordinators Association. There's a group of EMS coordinators that at one time were meeting, went away, and we're trying to revive it right now. It's one coordinator from each county, is on it, and then they have their alternates if, their assistance if they want. And, we're trying to get it, kick-started. It's been a little slow to go. I can say that Western New York has probably been, if not the most active, one of the more active ones, which we keep in touch. I talked, to Bill and, Narragansett County, Orleans County, Cattaraugus, and Chautauqua, at least once a month now we do it.
Correct.
And basically talk about what's going on, share resources, and if they need something, policy or something like that, I might have that policy. And I can pass it off, save some time. So in Western New York, we've been doing fairly well. We're just trying to get the rest of the state to catch up. So, but it's getting better. We had somewhere around 21 attendees at our last meeting, where in the past it was like 4. So it's getting better. We're pretty happy about that. We did have a nice representation from the state for discussion of their task force and what their plans are for the task force. It was pretty in-depth. And that's still under development and being worked out. And then they talked about the responsibilities of the EMS coordinators in development and follow-up of mutual aid and MCI responses. So we'll be doing a little bit more on that in the near future, in Erie County at least. But it was we're trying to resuscitate and bring it back. Our next meeting is at, I think it's in a month. But that's it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, Erie County, Greg.
I'm taking up too much of your time here.
You
But I
love
will-
it though.
What?
You love it.
Yeah, nobody ever listens to me. We're still talking, we have a number of different challenges at Erie County right now. Anything that's grant funded, as you can imagine, is a tough thing to plan on and prepare. So I'm obviously making some alternate plans on what I'm gonna do if funding doesn't come through, but we'll get it through fine. We did have a meeting of the advisory board the other day. I'll put you on the spot. Yeah, could you just give a snippet?
We're just looking at the existing Erie County mutual aid plan, as it was kind of created under the guidance of one of the policy statements from the state back in 2016. When we met collectively with the vast majority of independent EMS agencies. And just looked at the simplicity of it, as outlined by the policy statement, and we're looking to dive a little bit deeper as the system that is EMS in Erie County is far more complex. And start meeting with stakeholders to redevelop that plan and hopefully bring everybody into the fold for successful mutual aid.
And as far as our education, we have, right now, I think we have 8 EMT classes going on. 1 or 2, 1 advanced, right? All right, and then paramedic program, and thanks for allowing our students to be here. Where's it? Huh? Excellent. But it's a great class right now. I'm very excited. I help out here and there. And looking at the new wave of people coming out, very well encouraged. So we have 19 folks in the class right now. The class goes until October. And then we'll be signing up for another class next year. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how we fund it and stuff like that. Tuition that we charge and stuff.
Sure. We charge $5,000 a student. And that includes everything. Their uniforms, their textbooks, their online platforms, refreshing your clinical and student performance assignments. All their additional services that they'll need throughout the class. It's all in the students' smart. And as the first class is going through, I think we'll have any major changes. It's something weird happening in this first class, so we would expect to have another class run from January, October, and next year.
We're very happy. It's eye-opening. But that's it, I think.
Okay, any questions for Greg in regards to Erie County? Okay, Bill.
Okay, our EMS program is a little over a year old now. It's been working well. We're still stuck in a rut with being downsized a little bit. The powers that be with the emergency management office, we're meeting with all the leadership in the county in April, and hopefully we can convince them to let's come back to 2 24/7 ambulances, plus support from the coordinator and deputy coordinator on a flight route basis. So we're hoping to get over that. They've been dispatched just under 600 times as of from January 1st to date. So things are working out pretty well. On the volunteer side, unfortunately, we're running right around 11% drop call rate. We increased that by 2% since the last meeting here. It's not a really good thing. And that's based out of just a little over 1,600 dispatches and stuff. Again, for those new folks here in the room, drop calls doesn't mean they didn't get an ambulance. Okay, it means a mutual aid or a commercial agency to come in and cover that call. So everybody's getting taken care of for sure. Our education program is expanding drastically with a lot more offerings coming out. They're on our county website for anybody interested. And then as luck has it, that Wyoming County was a recipient of we got $500,000 out of state to support EMS. Also Orleans County got it as well. We've phoned it up at a conference call. Those are the only two that I know in Western New York. And was there 1,224? There's 24 applicants. Is that what they said?
There was
11 or 12 got it.
20 applicants, 11 got it.
Is it?
And the reason how they were only give out 10, but then some of the applicants asked for less than $500,000. And so they were able to give out 11. Erie County got that awarded. We're looking at it right now, Niagara County didn't get awarded. So what we're thinking, and this is just to save face, is that chances are they went to the smaller counties that need help. All right, and, you know, and we're more than happy. Erie County's much, we'll wait. We'll
That's
have-
great, you can.
Yeah, well, no, really, I mean, let's go to the areas that don't have a hospital.
Us poor folk in Wyoming County need it more than you.
Well, I don't know, but if you look at his new car, you might want to.
I don't have a new car.
Sorry.
I got 85,000 on it, baby.
Just to be clear, that money that went to 11 counties was from money budgeted in 2024 for 2025. It's not the $5 million that's in the budget for 2026. So it's the same thing in names of the counties, but it's not the same people getting it.
We're believing that the second time around, we'll get something, so
It's just hold it for the class the second time.
we know what to say. I'm a poor little starving guy that lives in Wyoming.
Right,
My name's Bill.
this is Bill's time, yes, that's what I was gonna say.
You're telling me to shut up. Bill, you got anything else?
That's it, my report.
You got it.
Is that it for your report from Wyoming County too, Greg?
I'm done, thank you.
Here, may I say something?
Yes,
Bill, are you able to get the invoice for the Wyoming County First Team?
I'm still working on that.
That's fine, as long as I get it sometime. I know it's usually we pay it in the
Yeah, we've had
the last
to run it
quarter,
through.
when you can get that to me.
I've been
Just a
working on
reminder.
it, but
I
unfortunately,
don't need
get
it
it through our
immediately.
finance. Well,
I
no,
just
don't
want-
say that because it won't happen.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay,
there's
and I
been two
needed-
Let's have an
rewrites.
argument.
There's been 2 rewrites already. and
Okay,
So
just let me know. I
they're
just.
back at the drawing board again.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, any question for Bill or Greg in regards to the Wyoming County report? Okay, Western New York stress, Gil.
Free debriefing this since the last time we met. You need a thing from them too?
You beat me too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take over your report too, I don't care.
Okay, any questions for Greg on the Western New York stress report? Okey dokey. Bill, Wyoming County First Responder Support Team.
Yes, we're enjoying the funding that this organization gave us. We're onboarding a couple new members and we'll be utilizing that for training. And also, we just met a couple more weeks ago. We had to cancel our prior meeting due to a snowstorm, but with that support, we're gonna do more training for our existing members as well. So we believe we're putting that money to good use.
Okay, good.
And we have had some activity, more, peer counseling as well, so it's working out well for us. And we put together, we proposed it to the group in our meeting last week, actually, and a slideshow. Our goal is to get into every fire department meeting, every rescue squad meeting, and do a 10 to 15 minute presentation, so everybody understands and knows it's out there and how it works. I have had a couple calls where they want us to do group stuff and do not do group things. Right now, it's a whole other level of training and whatnot, so we're gonna leave that up to the Erie County program at this point.
Okay, any questions for Bill? In regards to the Wyoming County stress team? Okey dokey, okay, committee reports, Madonna, for budget.
I submitted a proposed budget, which is basically the same budget as we are dealing with this year, that was adopted for this past fiscal year. I'm not sure if anyone has any suggestions or ideas on other ways that we can utilize our monies, constructively. If you do, if you can let me know. I see we will have a budget committee. I can get in touch with the budget committee members. We can either meet or discuss this through email. Should we just meet? Would be a good idea to meet. We'll set up a date and time when we can do that. In case we don't have any further ideas or changes prior to our next meeting in 2 months. So we're able to make any kind of changes before it's adopted. As I said, everything is pretty much the same as it was for this past fiscal year. Unless there's some changes that'll be made, I think as far as our legal fees, I don't believe we'll need any additional monies there. Program agency, I'm not sure, MOU, all that may be affected at some point if we'll have to change that amount.
Okay, we can, we'll act on the budget under new business. Okay, any other questions for Madonna in regards to the budget committee? Okey dokey. Christina, membership.
Yes, ma'am. Erie County is still full with 13 full members and all 4 alternates. Wyoming has 12 full with 1 open spot. Currently have 4 applications going back to August, all 4 from Erie County. So I will pass around the latest membership roster. If you have a purple mark next to you, you already approved it. If you don't have a purple mark next to your name, please just review the information is correct and just initial next to it, so that we can confirm everything's good to go. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for Christina in regards to membership? Oh, Christina, were you gonna be thinking about putting together a new membership packet of kind of what we're about and absences and excuses and et cetera?
Did we decide we were gonna wait on the update for the bylaws for that?
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay,
Maybe.
that answers it. Never mind. Never mind, that answers it. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, systems committee, Brian.
Before I hit systems, just some general membership stuff. If you don't know what committees you're on,
Well, that's
everybody
under new
responded.
business.
Carol, I'll cover it here. Carol, put these up. You make sure you know what committee you're on. For committees that are having meetings, open meetings law says that we have to give notice of those in a public viewing site. So if you schedule them virtually, somebody has to open wherever location they're at for the public to come view it. We have to provide notice. If you have any questions how to do that, you can reach out to me, Carol, or Kevin Mahoney. And then for systems, thank you, Madonna, for wrapping up the accounting and reconciliation for the CON actions we had this year. That will close out all active stuff. We need to convene a systems committee meeting in the near future, if for no other reason than to elect a new chair, because Carol's term as council chair is coming to an end and I'm succeeding her, which means I can't chair subcommittees. So if you're interested in being chair of systems committee, start lobbying your systems committee member. If you're not interested, I would suggest bribing everybody else not to nominate you and attend the meeting, because if you're not there, that's how you become chair. Ask me how I know. That's it for systems.
Any questions for systems? Yes, Greg.
Just a note, there were 3 committee reports I did not interrupt. However, for systems, systems, 2, not systems, they're, the executive meeting, does that follow the same, a requirement for open meetings law or?
Yes, so the executive meeting has to be announced and available if you go into executive session. And basically, there's really limited reasons that you can go into executive session, right? To seek legal counsel or to discuss a personnel matter. Then you can shut it for the public, but otherwise, we are a public body and have to be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Right,
I'm good.
okay. Training and ed, that normally would be Chris Zembrick, like Brian said, what used to happen is that the classes used to have to be approved by the council prior to them being put out for attendance, and that all changed kind of sort of. So it's kind of a quasi, but personally, I would like the new training and ed committee to put together a one-day seminar. Nothing fancy, 4 classes. Jeff has said that, that's, what district would be open to host it.
Yes.
Like I said, the council can provide for the paying of the fire hall for the rental of that, but that's what I'm gonna be kind of in the background as chair-elect, pushing for them to hopefully do, is to put together a class. Okay,
Carol, on what?
yes,
On what?
yes. Yes, yes,
It's
Yes.
open to the discretion of the committee, though.
yes. And whatever they come up with.
Think like EMS conference style.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
so there's physicians with fellowships out there that need to do presentations, et cetera, like that. We'll see what can be grabbed. Okay, I've been kind of pushing for this for quite a while and haven't really gotten anywhere with it. Hit a couple of roadblocks. Okay? Better be nice, Greg.
No, the only thing is, we do have a couple of things. We have a speaker series at the county. Fireside has a speaker series and stuff. All I would ask is that maybe we just let you know what we're doing. So we don't compete for the same content and resources. If you're using physicians to do things, we're bringing in some higher level people to do the presentations too, but I just don't wanna, dilute too much. So if we could, actually, Don could be on the committee, John. Then we're all set. Got that covered.
Don's on the committee and, yep, there ain't no bill on it, thank God. Okay,
Brian, help me here.
okay. Yeah, no,
He says my name right.
Anyways, yeah, I always kill for Brian's name. Okay, any other thing for training and ed? Any questions or anything?
We referred Don's earlier question about the paramedic scholarships, at least doing the advanced work on that training and ed.
Yeah,
Will you take that to the training and ed committee, Don?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
okay. Okay, bylaws, Brian,
Same as systems, when you convene a meeting and elect a new chair.
okay. Awards PR? Bill?
Yep, the announcement should be going out next week, and just to reiterate, the application deadline will be May 16th. The banquet will be on August 27th, and I think you redid the meeting schedule, I believe. And, Wyoming County will be host to it, and we're still looking for a location at this point. Haven't identified that quite yet, so
So May 16th is the application deadline.
that is correct.
Thank you. Bob, could you update that on the website?
Sure.
Thank you.
And as soon as I get the announcement, we'll push it out. So,
What's that?
sorry, as soon as we get the announcement, we'll be happy to push that out too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions for Bill in regards to the awards and public relations?
That's fine. As soon as you find out what a location, we can work on the deposit.
Yep. You want to do that before the end of this budget cycle?
Okay. Yeah, that would work well.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, is it gonna be at Churchill?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay,
House?
No.
and any other questions?
You're way too rowdy.
Okay, New York State Department of Health. Lisa,
Carol. Every agency in this region should more or less be on the 2-year schedule of when you renew, you get inspected. You don't need one in order to go through with the other, however, I highly recommend you try and do both at the same time, so as together as you can. Please make sure your SOGs are complete and up to date. I have a checklist for all the policies if you need it beforehand. And to add to the topic earlier of long hospital wait times, we do like you to currently it doesn't have to be exact, just don't wait 3 days after that. That doesn't really help us. And the agency is not the individual, but the agency can consider filing a facility complaint for egregious wait times. It's up to you to determine what egregious is. And for those who have not heard, Ed Major has accepted a promotion within the division. I can't tell you what his new title is yet. We're going through some new inner workings at the time, but so for this group, for people in general, nothing really has changed at the moment. You can still reach out to him for all your needs. However, the person conducting your inspections, doing spot inspections at hospitals, answering your emails, accepting your submissions will be me. But you may pick and choose who you reach out to. That's all.
I'm proud of you, Lisa. That was really quite the report.
You know, under 2 minutes.
Yeah, you did great. Thank you. Usually it's like nothing.
I could have added some stuff, but
No, yeah, no, Greg, no.
I didn't want to show off.
Bill, hit him. Okay, any other questions for Lisa? From New York State Department of Health. Okay, executive board, me, basically, we did have a meeting on February the 5th. The state contract between the council and DOH, we did approve. Like I stated, there was a letter that was sent to us by a attorney firm, an international attorney firm, AMR Twin City, Erie County, and regarding Erie County and with their CON and Catholic Health System. Because Erie County is under a municipal agreement right now at this particular point in time, such as Southline was. The council really doesn't have anything to say or to do, so Kevin Mahoney did craft a letter and send it off to the other attorney from Dwayne Morris stating such. So right now that's in the clear. The other thing was that the UBMD parcels for there was modifications that needed to be done, and we did need an invoice from Rob for that so that we can pay for the modifications to the invoice. And let me see. And the other was just Part R, which we're gonna be speaking of in that. Any questions for me? Okay. The CMAC, the program agency report, excuse me.
Elevated our standards.
I know.
So good evening. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. I did include my report in the email that went out to everybody. To touch on some things. So we have not invoiced the council for the portal changes yet because those changes have not occurred. I'm not going to invoice you for something that hasn't happened yet. As soon as that does, we will then submit that appropriately. Also for the fact that if it's cheaper, I'm not going to charge you as much either. So, so at the state meeting, we were listening very intently to the wait times, particularly surrounding Nassau County. And with that, both Zach and I have decided that we are going to start taking a hard look at the wait times within the region, utilizing the New York State platform, the repository. I do understand the data is only good as what's inputted, so If it is garbage in, it's gonna be garbage out, but we're gonna do our best to at least present some information off of that. And give us, as a region, give us an idea of maybe what some of those wait times are being reported as. Couple other things, you talked about regional training plans. I do want to let you know, there is a tag out there currently. That is looking at kind of bringing back these regional plans back to the REMSCOs again. They're being formulated a little differently than they were in the past. But I think at some point in time, regions are going to be expected again to submit regional plans for training on an annual basis. So do keep that in mind that it's out there. Another thing, we're keeping an eye on these data changes that are coming down based on federal adjustments. I'm sure many of you, on a daily basis, run out to nemesis.org website. Because it should be bookmarked on everybody's page, but if you've been on there recently, you will notice actually that the 3.5 data dictionary has been removed temporarily. To account for those changes, but it does appear that the current field that we are using, which I believe, don't quote me, because there's like only 1,000 Nemesis field, but I believe e-patient 13 is actually going to be deprecated, which means it's going to be eliminated. And I think it's going to move to like e-patient.25 or 27 or something. Basically, it's changing from gender to sex or the other way around, one of the two is happening. And in that case, I believe that will allow us as a state to still report on the values that we are currently reporting on. You didn't know that's male, female, male to female, female to male, unknown. And what will happen is the state will collect the data that they want, and then when they send it off to Nemesis, they will then map it, so it would either be male or female, thereby complying with the Nemesis requirements. So that I think is a little bit about what I know so far. As soon as we get more information on when that's going to roll out, we will keep everyone posted, and I'm sure that the data and informatics unit will keep in touch with the vendors. Also, we are currently, in addition to, we are working on transitioning to 3.5.1 standards. So hopefully that'll be information on. I don't think it's not gonna be as big as when we move from 3.4 to 3.5. It's gonna be just probably some small changes and making adjustments to the standard we currently have, fixing some things. Other than that, as I reported on every previous meeting, we still do not have our award letter. We are running into our 9th month now. As a program agency, as all the program agencies have been not funded or reimbursed, so. Hopefully we can keep going.
Okay, any questions?
So just to be clear, the letter and the payment is now beyond the DOE, right? That's hung up in another department somewhere.
So
That's what I was gonna ask next under old business.
we don't honestly know, because when we ask the state says we can't tell you where it's at. So.
The state as being DOA.
Correct, the division of health does, as I talk to Ryan frequently. Sorry, Lisa.
It's all on your shoulders, Lisa.
It's all about you, Lisa. I talk to Ryan on a frequent basis, and we can only assume it is beyond their level, because what we're told is we can't tell you where it's at. It's either at the state budget or state comptroller, one of those two.
These are funds that already should have been appropriated, so it shouldn't be.
Yeah, this is all budgeted stuff. This was in the budget last year. This is money that has been assigned to us. It's just we don't have a contract. And personally, I believe that we have seen some delays due to the new 20,000 for the paramedic and 15 for the recruitment. Plus Ryan is actually trying to get us as program agencies a little bit.
Is there an option to take Lisa hostage until they pay us?
But I like Lisa, so we'll take Ed Major instead.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Just from my workings, being a state employee for 33 years. It sounds to me as if either probably the contracts themselves are stuck in lawyers' hands. Who don't wanna make a decision at the DOH level or make a budget or et cetera level, but probably that's where they're stuck in.
What we're also being told is we're not the only organization that's grant funded that's having this issue, so.
Rob, does HRI have anything to do with the
No.
program agency stuff?
They do not. I wish they did,
Yeah.
sort of.
Sort of, big sort of.
What's HRI?
Health Research Incorporated.
It's the grants administration part of the Department of Health that got spun off
Oh,
into a private little
entity.
fiefdom.
So actually, some DOH staff were actually through HRI, such as data and informatics. Is actually an HRI. Peter Brody at the state, if you've ever talked to him, he's actually an HRI employee, not a state employee.
Okay. Okay, any questions on? Is there anything that we can do in regards to getting this pushed as far as contacting legislators?
So, just the other day. I got a list of what I think is all our senators and assembly people. Being some of them are actually female, so I don't wanna call them assemblymen, but. In all 5 counties that we touch, and I have sent a standardized email to every one of them. Outlining the issue, outlining how this is going to impact EMS if we don't get these funds soon. At the state council, I urged people, both at the meeting as well as virtually, to please do the same, to reach out to your elected leaders, as we all have to be careful for not creating, what could be construed as lobbying. And so if anybody knows of an elected leader or has a relationship with them, reaching out to them would be probably at least helpful. I don't think it'll hurt. That's all I can actually ask of anyone is to talk to your electeds.
Can you forward what you sent along?
I can.
If you want to find your specific elected officials, visit thesofedge.com. Click on public resources and put in your home address and it'll tell you your assembly member, your senator,
And your assembly member, Jessica, is the Petro, and your senator is Borrell.
Yeah, I know.
And I did actually get back a response from Burrell.
You did, and
They have put it on their list of things. Apparently, they're working with an EMS agency right now on a separate issue, so
okay,
they said that they would do that. I've also been in touch with Senator Ort's office up in Niagara County. Who is our minority leader. My goal would have been to get in touch with, Senator Baskin, who's actually the chair of the Contracts and Procurement Committee. But I've not heard anything from her. So,
and she is a senator out of Buffalo.
yeah, she is a senator out of, yes. Buffalo
She
area.
just replaced Kennedy, so she's pretty new.
So, okay, is there any wishes in regards to the council as to any action that the council wants to take? Such as a letter or et cetera like that?
Will the letter help, Rob?
It's not gonna hurt. I don't know if it'll help, but it definitely won't hurt. The more noise I think we're hoping to make. That maybe they'll start taking us seriously. I do know that, New York City REMSCO did send a letter directly to the commissioner. Outlining a lot of these issues as well, so.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to send a letter to the Commissioner of Health,
Okay,
asking the status of, PBMB.
I'll second that one. Send it right to Jim.
Rather than ask the status, because maybe just ask that we release the allocated
Demand
funds.
status,
Yeah.
the demand release. Whoever wants to amend it, make it.
I was just suggesting that rather than start a conversation, we say, please pay them.
Yes.
Wow.
okay, so we have a motion for a letter to the New York State Department, or the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Health, for a letter to be written demanding the release of allocated funds. Do we have any discussion on this? If that is the case, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain?
Dan
You don't-
seconded it.
You said Dan?
Danny.
Yeah, Dan McCartan, Mark Cartan. Okay, you got it, Dan? Okay. Okey dokey, I will get that out before I terminate. Yes, there is hope. Is there any other old business? Okey dokey, so we'll move on to new business, the council budget. Basically, it's in front of you, correct? This is it, Madonna? Yes. Or it was emailed to you.
This. It was a 4-page. Yes, it was emailed along with the treasurer's report.
Yep. So, is there any questions in regards to the budget? Do I have a motion to accept the proposed budget?
Are we?
No, just as a proposed budget that will be voted on because it has to set for at least 30 days. Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the budget proposal?
Was that the news?
It always has to set for 30 days on budget. No, okay.
I think it would be good to have more input as, if anyone has any input as far as. Some
Not that
additions
we'll
to the
pass it done
budget,
tonight.
and then we can consider it at the next meeting.
Oh, do you want the committee to meet beforehand?
Well, and that too, if there's.
Okay, then now that you got a committee,
Yes.
okay, then we will let that sit then, and if anybody else that is not on the committee would like to
Yes.
thing on it, thing, okay. So, the other item I have down on number 2 under new business is the New York State Department of Health contract. That's the contract with the council, as Madonna stated. That contract was finally approved and accepted by New York State. It was kind of like it was put out there, and then again, kind of like Rob, it went away, and now it got back and it was signed.
Yes, it's finally been executed. It looks like as of February 10th. And they've asked that any outstanding claims for the 2024 to 25 contract year, which is the first 2 quarters, and now at the end of March, where I can now submit those claims. First 2 quarters are pretty much set to go. I'm working on our many-page long reporting tool, and that should be completed shortly, and I will submit that soon.
Okay, we approved that at the executive board level. So that is why it did not come, because I forgot to put it in front of the council in January, but it's late. So, okay. Any questions? The committee assignments, I did send them out to everybody via email. If you didn't get them, let me know. I'll try to resend it to you. There's some paper copies up here for committee assignments. Like Brian said, they will be scheduled to, if you have a committee meeting, you do have to make notice of it, etc. Kevin Mahoney will take care of that. Rob can arrange Zoom meetings. And so also kept Brian if he's so inclined to. Yeah. And then also the other thing is I am not listed on any of the committees. Pretty much I will be taking Brian's spots. Is the way that it's kind of looking at now on April the 1st. Okay? Any questions on committee assignments? Okay, New York State Executive Budget Part R. We'll let Brian and Rob take that one.
I'll try to make it brief, but if you don't know, the state executive proposes a budget every year. That budget then goes to the Assembly and the Senate. They make one House bills from that and it comes back with changes. Most things in the budget are not surprisingly related to money because it's budget. Occasionally we get policy in there as well. And this year's policies related to EMS are actually in 3 parts. Part B is in Bravo, part sorry, I have to zoom in. Part B is in Bravo, part O is in Oscar, and part R as in Romeo are the 3 places. Part B is an extender of community paramedicine, previously allowed under a demonstration project, now limited to those agencies that were already approved, so nobody can actually enroll. But it would extend the expiration of that demonstration project from May of this year to May of 2027. The part O is an amendment to, I forget which section of the health law to allow paramedics to carry buprenorphine and use that as treatment for opioid withdrawal and other related issues. That's required obviously to incorporate it into our formulary and subsequently our protocols. And then part R, which is labeled as the ensure access to EMS portion of the budget, includes a number of things. I will run them off and then take any questions. One is the Emergency Medical Community Assessment Program, shortened as MCAP. MCAP is a framework for countywide systems, is what we're being told. It's not in the budget this way, but countywide systems to be scored, much like ISO ratings, and obtain those scores. And what we do with that later, I guess we'll find out after, or if this is incorporated. But it's identifying gaps in coverage, identifying things like Bill was talking about with drop calls and where we need mutual aid, and enabling the state to hopefully help address that. The second big thing is county EMS plans, going with MCAP and trying to build structure. That's what's tagged with that $5 million potential spend for fiscal year 2026. Again, we'll see what happens. There's a change to the CON language proposed. It basically adds in consider additional information as required by the commissioner, but does not define need in the way that all of us so desperately want it. So this can be simply a binary decision on either there is need or not, and get us away from all the trouble we've had to this point. There's a lot of language around EMS as an essential service. I'm going to introduce this by saying I have a bias on this language. So if it comes off as me being biased, I apologize. I'm trying to report without opinion. It would label EMS as an essential service, and then the question becomes who pays for that essential service. But it would be something that somebody would be required to provide. The original language would have made it the counties. The 30-day amendments took the word shall out and replaced it with may. So we moved from command language to permissive language, which creates a question. But this is the language that we've heard so many times would eventually be associated with funding, allowing for taxing districts to obtain money specifically for EMS and how that gets spent. So there's a ton of questions around there. I will comment on that later, I guess. Demonstration projects and putting that into law, which allows us to basically get things into protocols. If you think about iGel, that's a demonstration project. Think about check and inject. That was a demonstration project before it was officially adopted in scope of practice. So things like that. New York State requires that they have an IRB approved study, that they demonstrate a skill or treatment modality can successfully be performed at a level of care within a scope of practice. They submit the successful study at conclusion of the whatever the defined term is, and it then gets incorporated. So this would put that into law. There's a proposed change of the definition of EMS. Again, biased here, but I think this is excellent. This is something that a lot of people were involved in crafting across many advocacy groups and trade associations. And it broadens the definition to kind of get us out of that old umbrella of exclusively pre-hospital care and makes it a much more coordinated system, including training, communications, hopefully starting to loop in some of the emergency medical dispatch standards and things like that. And the last thing that's in there is a shift from certification to establishing a licensing standard. Don't get excited. It would change nothing functionally. You just get to say you're licensed instead of certified. There are people who feel that that is a significant advancement in professional standing. I don't want to crush anybody's hopes and dreams there, but you're still going to have to do CME. You're still going to have to do all the things that you have to do now to maintain your certification. You'll just get to say it's a license. And with licensure, there's a likelihood there will be a renewal fee
Oh, yeah.
with the license. So just pay attention to what can be done, not what is done. So there's been a lot of conversation around that. I know there's a lot of frustration. We heard at SEMSCO that the issue that we're hearing out of the governor's office, out of the commissioner's office, out of the Department of Health, out of the Assembly, and out of the Senate is that EMS doesn't show up and speak with one voice. That, you know, we see these things in the governor's budget and then EMS goes, what are you doing? And we all throw a fit about it. And some people like it and some people don't like it. And we argue about it. But we don't all get on the same page. And I know that that's a point of frustration that's come up multiple times and something we were admonished about at the legislative committee meeting, I believe it was. That, you know, we all need to get on the same page. Speaking just for myself, not on behalf of REMAC or any of the other associations or REMSCO or any of the associations. I don't feel it's fair to scold us for not being on the same page when this language just keeps coming out of the blue and we have no opportunity to participate in it early. We do have an opportunity to make recommendations. And that's one of the things that a number of associations are working on now, which is let's make the recommendations before the next budget cycle. So if you have any particular part of Article 30 that you would like to see changed, or if you have an idea that you'd like to see legislation for EMS, you know, we could certainly form a legislative committee here if the chair wants to endorse it. Or we can, I can point you in the right direction for trade associations or whatever, but I think it's important that we work on this before we see the next budget proposal and we get there first to say, here's what we'd like to see, and we'll get on the same page if you follow this.
Bill?
Also on that, I just got back from being down in our capital for 2 days. And that was the top of the conversation, I know. It was the top of the conversation, and the frustration is there's at least 6 different versions out there right now on this,
Of which,
of the essential services.
way more than that.
Okay, that's what we were told, talking Horton and all those other comrades there. So a group of folks are supposed to get all the players together and come down with one common proposal that everybody can agree to or work with. A lot of different versions, as you mentioned, Cheryl and May, that was a big deal as well. They kept sponsors around, depending who you talk to. So again, frustration down in Albany is to come up with a common message and get it through. It is hope it's gonna be a whole lot easier if it doesn't fall out of her budget. If we have to get through the legislative process, it's gonna be a long.
So as a general rule, pure policy, the assembly just takes pure policy out of the one House bill. They want to address that through a legislative process.
There's issues with that down there and that right now.
There are.
That's what happened last year with it. Last minute it got pulled and they said this is policy.
Yep, and that's likely what will happen again this year. And
More
ultimately,
optimism for whatever reason, all the folks we talked to and everything like that. But again, you know, and this goes on with other things that, even both sides of the house, the fire and the EMS side, you gotta have a common message. You can't have every entity walking in there and say, we want this, you know, it's just not gonna work.
yeah, and I think that the most common message I've heard this year is all this is well and good, but we need to pay for it. I mean, it's the state has to find a way to pay for it.
Exactly, they gotta come up and back it up. And one big push too is to do an assessment, a common assessment and the same assessment tool across the state.
Mhm.
So it's a fair assessment. They do totally understand that the one size does not fit all on this, you know, by far. And, that's where that assessment's gonna come in being and to support that process. That's my consensus.
Bill for governor.
Yeah. So. I think out highs every time we go down there.
Any other questions or comments or anything on the executive budget? Okay, we're moving on to a new laptop for the secretary, not to exceed $1,000. First of all, I would like to thank Ann for gratefully but regretfully, filling in as the secretary tonight. It is a definitely not thankful job, and Chris's laptop has died. That has been provided to him for the council, so therefore he needs to buy a new laptop. So may I have a motion? Second? No, for Julia,
As far as rents,
of not to exceed as 1,000.
and we easily could take that out of the education and training line, we should have monies remaining there. And to transfer to the equipment line.
Okay. Okay, do we need to do that?
If it's under
It's
a
under
thousand,
1,000,
if it's under 1,000, you don't have to go to equipment.
don't have to do it, you could just leave it.
You
Didn't
could,
we
you
discuss
could
this?
do it under operating expense.
Just leave it under operating.
Yeah,
Oh, it could be done under.
because if it's over 1,000, then you're gonna have to, if you. You know, X amount of years, when you decide to get rid of that one, then you have to depreciate its value and then do crap and stuff with the state. So if you keep it under 1,000, it's not deemed equipment.
Yep, not to exceed 1,000. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, that has passed. Last but not least, we need a May meeting change, and the reason being is our meeting is the same night as the Sun School, so therefore we'll be missing our new illustrious leader, Brian. Rob will be missing, and Greg, and probably a few others. So what's the date you're looking at?
It's May 14th.
May
We
14th.
were on the 7th, we moved back a week to the 14th.
Is there any problems with May 14th to move the meeting date? No? Okay, may I have a motion to move the meeting date? Okay, I saw Jeff's hand go up and Michael Hyde's hand go up second. Sorry, Mary Beth. I'll catch you next time. Gotta be quick. Quick on the draw. Okay, I have a motion. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Any other new business?
Well,
Just a couple other legislative things going on. EMS cost recovery is scheduled to sunset in 2026. They're hoping to get that re-initiated again for another 5 years. There's also hope that they'll get and take away the sunset out of that, and it'll be forever. We're pretty positive we might be able to get that across the finish line. There's very little resistance or issues with it, is why they put a sunset onto it. So, it's been working well for different regions in the county. And also is believed that many, agencies are holding back on it. They've gotten cold feet because if it does sunset, why spend all that money, when it's might potentially go away, but, that's looking fairly promising. Also income tax credit for first responders on both sides of the house. We're trying to take that up to the $800 mark, and it's $200 level right now, which started back in 2006, which was fine back then. So again, that's the initiative going on down there as well as the VFBL parity with workers' compensation. So, well, if you're injured on the job, you not making else for that. So we're trying to bring that. That's been an ongoing thing you're trying to remember.
Okay,
OSHA, we did make a trip down to DC to deal with the OSHA issue as well. And I've got a lot of good support. Our elected officials remember us from last year and stuff, and, they are putting a lot of pressure on OSHA. Pump the brakes and go back to the drawing board. And we're not asking for it to go away or exempt the volunteers, but, it's gotta be. And again, one size does not fit all, just our states. They're very geographically challenged. That's it.
Okay, anybody else?
Uh,
Brian?
Just one thing really quick. Some of you may have seen it, Brian Weedman from the Department of Health has been doing a leadership course, like a 2-day leadership course in the regions. Generally, one day followed by a next. I'd like to propose that we host it along with Big Lakes Regional Council, so up to 30 participants. We give 2 regions, we're likely to fill it. I'm happy to host it at Twin City if nobody wants to take it. Otherwise, it puts us right on the border of the 2 regions. And we'd be looking at 2 dates in September. Any issues, comments, or a motion to do exactly that?
There a fee gonna be associated with that?
There is no fee.
I know it's for district, we reached out to Brian about hosting one at their late or early summer, so might be another one in the region as well. I'll make a motion to accept that.
Okay, you got a motion on the floor to accept.
Second.
Okay, did you get that, Nancy? Okay.
Give it to that paramedic student.
Yeah. Okay, any questions, any discussions in regards to that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, any more new business? Motion to adjourn? Yep, okay, 14, yeah, but I'll just pick one. Thank you all for coming, thank you for.